All right, guys. Welcome. Good afternoon, and welcome to Afternoon Talk. Not Afternoon Talk, I'm sorry. But I just did an afternoon talk early this afternoon. So, welcome to Global Talk with Jonathan. My name is Jonathan, your host. It threw me off because I got a notification here. I'm so sorry, guys. Um, Global Talk is a type of show that focuses on the journey and life of most of the successful business partners in our community. And tonight I am ecstatic to actually present to you one of the person that I have been following since day one. Since day one, since I started. And then luckily I actually was able to invite him to do the show. So give me a second here, having technical problems. Please welcome tonight, Coach Juan Paulo. Hey,
Hi,
Coach.
John. How are you?
I am good. I'm having technical difficulties with our feed in Facebook for some reason. That's
Oh, that's okay.
yeah, that's okay. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just fix that in a bit. Okay, um, let me tell you. Let me just mention the history how I found you. So when I started doing my business, I was scrolling down to different business partners in the community, and I stumbled upon your reel, or I don't know if that was a reel or something, and then I said, "That's cool," because you were doing a lot of graphic design and graphic all of this, and that was cool. That blew me off, and then so I said, "Let me follow him." So I've been following you and stalking all your work.
Yeah, because I just kept coming up with more like videos and reels on I don't know if it's on, is it Facebook or Instagram, but I post the same stuff on both
Yeah,
platforms.
yeah, me too. So yeah, it's amazing, amazing. So yeah, I started following you, and for some reason, I don't know why it took me this long for me to actually ask you to do this interview.
Yeah.
So well, let's begin. Let me see here. All right, who is Coach Juan Paulo before becoming one of the success story in the business?
Yeah, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Paulo Perez. Juan Paulo is just my branding name. Juan is my first name. I don't really go by it, but I go by Paulo instead. It's just because like in elementary, people always made fun of my first name. So there's so many things they can call me. So I go by Paulo. I was born in the Philippines in
Mhm.
Manila. I moved to we immigrated to Canada when I was 6 months old. So we grew up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I lived there for many years until I was like
Mhm.
23 or 26, and I
Mhm.
moved out to Vancouver, and then I worked out in Vancouver there. And so my background for work is I'm a nurse. I've been nursing for over 2 decades now. I've worked in many different areas of nursing. So I worked at Foothills Hospital, if you're familiar with that in Calgary. I worked
Mhm.
at Tom Baker Cancer Center. And in Vancouver, I worked at Vancouver General Hospital. I currently work with BC Cancer Vancouver.
Mhm.
And I did a stint back in London. I actually flew out there
Wow,
and
you
worked
did.
in London for not even a year. It was just, I worked at a GI American hospital, but
Yeah.
it wasn't the kind of nursing I wanted to do because
Right.
they're very strict there with the kind of certifications you need to do the type of
Right.
nursing
Right. Right.
that for general. So literally was only giving out medications and vital signs. I couldn't do anything else. And
What?
this so working at Vancouver General Hospital, I was working thoracic respiratory medicine. So I was
Right.
looking after lung transplant patients, esophageectomies, like
Mm.
big surgeries. And
Mhm.
then to go to that where it's like nursing 101, I was like, I couldn't do this. This is I would get so bored. So I left and came back to Canada, and that's when I started working at Tom Baker Cancer Center because I knew a medical oncologist that was looking for a research nurse. I had no experience in research and nursing whatsoever, but I got trained, and ever since then I've been doing research in my nursing career. And
Right.
yeah, I quit nursing actually and went into pharmaceutical company for a couple years. So I
Oh,
did
wow.
corporate level of learning how to audit clinical trials.
Mm.
So as a nurse, I was putting patients onto clinical trials, but then I was on the other end working for a
Right.
pharmaceutical company. So I was doing real time auditing as a patient is on a clinical trial to make sure the site and the doctors are following the protocol and making sure they're doing all the proper tests. So I was doing that for 2 years, but I was traveling a lot between British Columbia and Alberta. I was flying 6 to 8 times in a month and
Wow.
working 10, 16-hour days. And I burnt out from that. So I burnt out already with my other career in like clinical trials. And then I did this for 2 years, but I burnt out as well because
Right.
of how much work I was doing. And it's salary based, John. And so
Oh,
I did 300 plus extra hours when I left. And
wow.
they always said, we know you're going to be busy, so you can take that time off. But I'm like, how can you take time off when you're so busy? There's no,
Exactly.
yeah, because when I take time off, work just piles up and I have to keep coming back to that more work when I come back. And so I was upset the fact that I put in that many hours and I didn't get paid for it and I couldn't take time off of it. So, and then my eyes got strained so
Oh,
badly because
wow.
I was always on the computer. And so now I'm a lot more conscientious when even though with our business being online, more conscientious of not having to be on the screen very often or taking breaks. And then, yeah, so I quit that and went back into my nursing clinical research department. But I
Mhm.
went back as casual. I just kind of casually worked, and which is a lot nicer because I didn't really have a patient load I had to look after.
Exactly. You're right. Right.
And
That's
then yeah, I started another contract job with BC Cancer where I was helping implement a patient medical electronic system in all of British Columbia. And so I was
wow.
supporting that in a clinical trial standpoint at the Vancouver location. So yeah, and then yeah, that's I just done so many different types of nursing things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, mainly for me, I started off. I tried floor nursing. I tried, ICU and all of that
Yeah,
other fields. But my first love is always surgical services. So
yeah,
I'm mainly surgery. So yeah, I'm on the other side of the surgical table, and then sometimes I go assist the surgeon with the big surgeries. And
that's cool. I like that when I did a preceptor or like was doing my surgical rotation. Uh,
yeah,
but it's
it's
very
heavy.
interesting work. Yeah,
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 it's very heavy. So yeah, I started having back pain, plantar fasciitis, all those tendon issues and all of that.
yeah,
So I said there has to be a way. And then the global crisis happened.
yeah.
So and then that was one of the key for me to actually enter the online space.
Mhm.
And yeah, I've been looking and looking and looking, and then saving and saving and saving all these websites on my phone. And then all of a sudden, boom, I saw my mentor's ad, and that was
Yeah.
history. I took action. All right. Well, you kind of answered my next question, so we're
But what?
gonna.
Yeah. Well, to add to this one, what other
Okay.
steps? So besides the burnouts, the fact that I mentioned, remember, I worked in some different areas, and so
Mm.
with our union, your salary doesn't get affected, but your vacation gets
Oh yeah,
affected.
yeah, yeah.
And the fact that I was going into all these other new positions, even though I worked
Mhm.
there before I started over, my vacation is like 4 years or 4 weeks. That's it, max that I can get because it kept getting resetted. But the fact that I have other colleagues who have this many years of nursing have about 7 to 8 weeks vacation. And for me, it's not fair that I'm going into an employment where I have senior knowledge, senior
Mhm.
skills. They expect more from me because I've been nursing for so long. They expect me to train people, expect me to be a mentor. But yet I don't get rewarded with my vacation because I'm capped at 4 weeks. And for me,
So,
that's not fair. Like, if you're a new nurse, great, that's fine. But when you're a senior nurse with this much experience, it pisses me off that it takes like my vacation is affected. And so that's one of the other reasons I'm like, I want to have a business that will allocate money that I can put towards like take because I can take leave of absence. I can take up to 20 days or something in a year. So I'm like, why I can do that instead and then have my business supplement that income that I'm not going to make. Um,
Mhm.
the other reason too is like my mom retired, and so she separated from my dad, and so she is just requiring like she's just only living with her pension.
Yeah.
And as you guys know, everything is so expensive. Like
Oh
her
yeah.
rent is really high, and it bothers me that she's not able to travel or see family in Canada or in the States or go to the Philippines. Like it's I want to be able to provide to her so that she can have a much more enjoyable retirement because she's not getting any younger. She injured herself. She fell in the Philippines when she was
Oh
visiting, and
wow.
she fractured her left upper femur and had
Mm,
to get major surgery out there. They pins on her, but then she was at the hospital for a while, and then they had to do repatriate a flight to bring her back to Calgary. So it was like a really big deal, and so that was just another reminder to me that I need to I need
it's,
to
yeah.
be able to help my mom live her life more and see more of the world, and I
Mm.
want to do that for her. So yeah,
And actually, I have to add to that. I have the same. Let me just talk about the Filipino culture in general. It's so hard because most of the older folks, like my mom, my dad, your mom,
yeah,
they well, I'm not talking about your mom, I'm just talking about my parents. They focus more on giving. They focus more on whatever they have to share with all the children, all the especially the grandchildren.
yeah,
And they don't care about like putting away some for their retirement.
yeah,
And I don't want to end up like having just $1,000 in my savings account when I do retire. You know what I mean? It's like that's hard, and I want to help them cross
yeah.
that line, because they did not prepare properly for their
Mhm.
retirement. So I want to be there for them because they were there. They took care of me when I was young, and it's just right for them to just to relax and just to travel for themselves.
Yeah,
And in order for them to do that, it's for me to help them achieve that goal.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Very
And
good.
like my mom, she's like, ever since that injury and the surgery, she's like, I will only travel with you now because she's afraid. She,
Right, right.
and that's the thing is like as you get old and working in oncology as well, I see people who like once you retire, that's just the general age of when so many things can happen to people.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
and I've seen people who they're like they had stuff planned already, and then they get diagnosed with cancer, and then cancer takes them after several years, and they didn't really get to enjoy their retirement. And so that's why with this business, we've seen many people retire so early from their jobs so that they can actually live their life now and not wait till those retirement age. And retirement age now is like seeing people
Jeez.
have to work till they're 70, 75. I'm like,
Mhm.
this is crazy
It's
to
crazy. How can you even enjoy things in life, traveling, buying good stuff, if you're
exactly.
too tired to move, to it
Yeah,
strains you, especially at that age.
yeah. Like
So
knock off Europe because or any of those other countries with not like sidewalks that are not flat or because like it's just like yeah, because like every city that I'm traveling or country, I'm
oh
like
god.
can't take my mom here because she's gonna easily fall or like it's gonna be too hard.
Or in
Yes,
San Francisco.
the hills. So
Oh man, yeah, like what you said, I enjoy traveling as well because my first career, I worked for the airlines. I used to travel a lot. I used to like grab my backpack and go travel somewhere. Like that was my single life. So,
that's crazy. You probably saw so much like
oh
of the
my gosh.
how many countries have
Here,
you visited?
this is off the questions. What is the best place that you have been so far to date?
So to date, I'm gonna give you two answers. So
Okay.
one was something that I did not expect was actually really gonna be a cool place was El Salvador.
Oh
Um, because I was expecting it to be like really rough and like run down, but
no.
it's really nice. The new president there actually done a lot for the country, and then we spoke to people there, and they said it's a lot safer now.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some really cool places in El Salvador that I really enjoyed, and I'd love to go back because my niece and nephew they're half El Salvadorian too,
Oh,
and
nice.
I'd love to be able to travel there with my brother and his kids and the wife, and experience that moment with them to be able to see that this is part of your heritage. So that's one. And then my second one I really enjoy, which is a city that doesn't get a lot of recognition. And it's like people have never thought about traveling there is Mexico City. There's so many things to do in that
So
city.
many
Like,
things.
yeah. And I love the fact that I actually went there because with my partner I was only previously before I was with my partner I was only traveling to the coastal cities
Okay,
of
okay.
Mexico, but that's not true Mexico. That's the touristy Mexico. If you go into Guadalajara, if you go into I went to Tequila, like where tequila is made, and
It's
it
made,
was
right.
amazing place. If you guys love tequila, if you don't like tequila, go
Yeah.
there and it will change your mind of how tequila is because it's so good there, like compared to what we have here. Like it's like I don't like Patron or Don Julio. I like other brands there that are really like modern, like they're basic brands there, but they're really good, high quality tequila.
Right.
But yeah,
Not
Mexico City, yeah,
not
those cities,
commercialized brand.
yeah. But yeah, it's one of those major cities inland really showed me what Mexico is about, and the history is so
Oh, I
rich
love
with
it.
a lot of devastating history because when the Spaniards were there, because they killed
Right.
a lot of the natives um, that were there, and the cities that they built. I was seeing the pictures. I'm like, wow, these are like really cool
Amazing,
cities.
amazing pictures. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my that's my
Here
go-to.
too.
Yeah, if people want to try the
What's
experience.
what is the one place that you wish you could go today? The very special place.
I would say I'd love to go back to the Philippines again, because I've only been twice,
Oh,
and I'd love to go back another time and explore the other islands. So I've
oh
been
gosh,
to,
it's beautiful.
yeah, because I,
You need 2 months.
yeah, because Manila is Manila. I'm like,
Yeah.
Manila reminds me of Vancouver, but tropical.
Yeah.
Um, and it's
Yes.
just too many
City.
people. It's
Too
not
many
really,
people.
it's not really, really true Philippines. And so when we went to the El Nido, we went to Palawan, and
Oh,
that was
I
beautiful.
love
Yeah,
that area.
yeah. And
We
then
love
we went.
seafoods.
Yeah, yeah. And then Boracay was okay. It's beautiful, but
Yeah.
it's just very touristy. So next, I'd love to go to Cebu. I
Cebu.
love, yeah, I love to go.
Cebu. Yeah.
I like to go to Siargao as well, and
Oof.
then the other little islands that are there too. So there's so many things I want to explore in the Philippines, which I'd love to go back at some point. So yeah,
You should do it soon. Right?
yeah,
All right. Oh, we just went off track here. All right. Could you share some early obstacles you faced while building a business, and how did you
yeah.
solve them?
So before I did this interview, I was actually doing a Zoom interview with another group of people within our community and sharing my whole journey. And I said one of the things I regret doing not doing, because our training that we provide to help people get started in this business, for those who are watching, is step by step. It's
Mhm.
24/7. You have access to it. It's online. It's all video
Exactly.
based
Yeah.
training. But at the time I was working with that pharmaceutical company, and so it's on the road all the time, and so I was still staying plugged in, followed the training, but the only thing I didn't do was that when I in the first initially joined, I didn't put out my first ad until so I started in January 2017. I didn't
Mhm.
put up my first ad until September 2017.
Oh
So
wow.
I waited that
Yeah.
gap.
That gap. Exactly.
Because of that, I I know if I would have started earlier, my business would have been more successful. But then the reason why I didn't put out my ad was because I let fear get ahead of me, in the sense that I was fearful of creating a video ad or putting myself out there. And so that's one of my biggest regrets. But I look at life now that everything all happens for a reason, including the time
Yeah.
of things. So that's I just it is what it is, and so I just try to teach people who I mentor that don't do the same mistake as I did. Let me help you get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable so that you can get your business taking off right away. um,
Exactly. Because we
so
gotta push. Yeah, I have to agree. You have to push. You have to push beyond your limits. I mean, like what you said, you have to be uncomfortable for you to be comfortable down the road.
yeah,
I love that. I
yeah.
love that thing.
And
All
then what
right.
and then to that there's another part is that I had stage fright. I've
Oh,
had it since I was a kid.
really?
Yeah, people always say the same, like, but you're like, you did so well on lives. I'm like, well, it's because I read. So other than being part of our community, we have a lot of personal development. Like,
Oh,
in order to
yes.
become successful in our business, you have to have that mindset, right? That positive mindset. which includes a lot of personal development. And so there was a book that we suggested as a community to read, which was called The Emotion Code. If you guys
Mhm.
never read it, it's honestly, people are like, oh, it's all like the hairy fairy sort of thing. Like it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but it teaches you how to tap your subconscious level. And we all have a subconscious level. Like it's the subconscious is what functions when you're sleeping at night. It's like
Mhm.
helps your organs function, all that stuff. But
Yep.
it was a really cool book that helped me allow to get rid of my fear of stage fright. And ever since then, it's gotten less difficult for me to go on lives or do these videos. Or
Mhm.
within our community, we have what we call like fundamental masterminds, where it's people who are learning, who are just first starting a business. And so I would co-host like certain topics. There's like, I think 5 or 6 major topics that we discuss. And so I would co-host those with people, with my other co-hosts, and there'd be between 500 to like 700 people watching that live
Wow.
globally. And I was like, at first I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I did it anyway. I forced myself. And so it just, this book really taught me how to get over that fear of stage fright. And I keep pushing myself every day to not care about being perfect or not care about what people think. Or
Oh,
even if you're out and about in the park, I'm still struggling with this, but like I'm still gonna do it. But when you're doing lives and like you don't care, like you have to forget about who's around you. Like it doesn't matter. And like here I'm, it's like I'm in. So I was like, I live in Vancouver, but I'm here in Sydney, Australia. For people that are watching, I'm here for vacationing. But I was by the Sydney Harbor yesterday. I was walking around, and there was this lady there with her tripod stick, with her phone, recording stuff. And there's so many people walking by. She didn't care. I was like, I
yeah.
want her. I want to be like her. I want to
Right.
like, I want to record a video ad there, like in that area, and just be like, you know what? I'm going to force myself to test it out and try that. So it's those sort of things that I do every day with this business. Is just finding ways to make myself a better version of what I was yesterday.
Exactly. Let me tell you a short story that I when I started doing go lives or anything, just being around people, I
Yeah.
get nervous. I have like short of breath. My heart is like pounding. Like there's
Yeah.
no like I have like 2 gallons of coffee.
Mhm.
So I someone told me, a professor in University of Hawaii. He said, John, because we were doing presentation for I was in different classes like personal development like you, and he said, turn your nervousness into excitement. So when
Okay.
you start feeling nervous, it's like, ooh, I'm excited. Instead of fearing it, just embrace it. And then he said, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And then I started learning through the years. I started learning, and then, like what you said, do go live. Doesn't matter where. I don't care if they look at me. That's fine. But as long as I deliver the message,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the key, right?
Yeah. And then the other thing too, John, what I do is when I feel that nervousness feeling, I like pause and take a breath. And because it's just
Yes.
like the natural thing with your body, like your body needs to breathe to survive. So that will push that nervousness down. Um,
Yes.
so that's what I do to
And
kind
the
of,
fillers, avoiding the
yeah.
fillers, like I am still guilty of doing that. Like all
Yeah.
right. Okay, so next one. How would you describe the ultimate measure of success in our business?
So the ultimate success, I think it really depends. Like it's going to be individualized for each person, I find, but
Mhm.
um, because a success for somebody could be like they got a good ad running on the video, or that they're getting leads and buyers or people that are coming in, or that they quit their job finally after multiple jobs and doing this business as their plan A now. So there's different successes, but for me personally, what is my ultimate measure of success is that when I can finally just say I'm done with nursing and give it up. I'm doing this contract job right now. It's a temporary job because there's nobody right now in place. Because I was telling you I'm helping implement that patient medical electronics system,
Mhm.
but in clinical trials, you know how there's like the paper PPOs, the pre-printed orders. So with every new clinical trial, every nurse has to create one specific for that study, but then it needs to get converted electronically into the system. And
Exactly.
so And so there's nobody in the middle. So when I was working for that contract job, I was working as a clinical informatics specialist. So I was
Mm-hmm.
helping
Mm-hmm.
create workflows and all that stuff, but I was also doing nursing stuff too, which I shouldn't have been doing in that specific job, but nobody else was doing it. And so I had to help convert and make sure that the pre-printed paper orders has the language that is specific so that the builders that create the electronic order copy knows what to build. And
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
when I was in that contract job and left, my other colleagues that I was working with weren't doing that. Like they don't really know the
But
clinical side
yeah,
of it.
yeah.
So I ended up proposing to my department that I came back to and said that you guys still need somebody like that, because if nobody's in place, you're not going to be able to open up studies in a timely manner, because they held back because of the implementation of this program. Plus, they had to held back because of COVID, and so they were not running to their 100% capacity of studies. And so you take me out of the picture, and so they're going to be screwed again. And so that's why I'm still hanging on to this job, because I feel like it feels like the universe is still telling me that, Paulo, you have to still give a little bit more to this group so that you can prepare them, teach them, and then pass on your knowledge to the other clinical trials nurses so that
Right.
they know what to do. But that time's not yet, but I think it's going to be sometime mid November, like end of this year, I'll be able
Oh,
to.
it's close. Very close.
And then just focus on the business, because yeah, besides this business, like other measures of success is that I can, for me, is to be able to use this platform, this business, to find my other and like other ideas of other businesses. Because I also want to help. Like my mission is to help other people, show other people that this business exists, so that they
Mhm.
can start seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, knowing that there's a better life out there, that they're not living paycheck to paycheck or feeling like they have to pick and choose what to buy at the grocery store.
I
Or
know
like,
exactly.
even here in Australia, I'm like, I went to the grocery store, I'm like, this is expensive. Toothpaste was almost $20 for toothpaste.
Australian
I'm like,
dollars.
oh, like
Wow.
it's like $8 or $9 in Canada. And then I was looking at even like sodas or drinks or water or any of the foods and stuff. It's almost similar prices as Canada as well too. I'm like, and
Wow.
wine. I thought wine was going to be cheap here, because we did some searching, thinking that wine was going to be cheaper because they produce a lot of here.
No,
Same
it's
price. Yeah. Like
wow.
yeah.
That's crazy. Well,
So
let me tell you my side, my ultimate measure of success. Like you, my ultimate dream, because I started this business other than providing for my own family, for providing for my wife, my parents, is to actually do a big medical mission, which
mhm.
I would reach out to you when this happens.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Well.
I wanna help out. I formed my own group when I started the business. I didn't wait. I formed my own group. Now we're like 22.
Oh,
Shout out to the Dream Movers. So we are not all connected financially. We're not connected in any way or form, but
mhm.
everybody reached out to me, and then we formed this group. And my ultimate goal is for us, when we're all successful enough, is to do a medical mission, especially in the Philippines, our homeland. I want to help out those kids that can't afford medical help, those kids with like cleft palate, those older folks who can't even receive proper dentures.
Yeah.
Those are the stuff I want to do, and with our platform, it's actually doable.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And and John, with that being said, I know a great dentist in Vancouver who does things like that. They go to like South
Okay.
America and do missions like that. And I can connect him with you
Oh
for
yeah.
he'd be up for doing things like that.
Oh, yeah, that's I'm actually reaching out to physicians in our community, different physicians, nurses like you. And yeah, it's gonna be a fun thing and very heartwarming.
Yeah, it's so when I went back to the Philippines, it really grounded me in the fact that you see the diverse,
Oh
rich, and
yes.
poverty, and then there's very
Hmm.
little class. My family's middle class. They live out in Rizal, and but I mean, middle class is still like, I mean,
Still.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
their homes are, they're like open air. There's like
Mm.
dust and dirt, but it really made me humble to see where my family came from, and like I'm truly blessed the fact that my parents made took that risk to immigrate to Canada for
Mhm.
create a better life for me and my brother, because I don't know what my life would have been if I just stayed in the
Stayed
Philippines.
in
Like,
yeah.
would I have become like, I don't know. I was like, would I have become a nurse? 100%, because there's always
There's no option.
yeah, there's no option. Yeah, it's just I'm so grateful. But but I think the thing that really stuck with me, that really reminded me of how, like, how we always say like the 1%, like they're so rich and stuff. When you're in the Philippines and you have like we have good careers and stuff, they look at us as the 1%. And so when I
So
was seeing
true.
kids picking out garbage out of the like food out of the garbage bin and asking for money, it really hurt me to see that they were like that and they had to live that kind of life. And it's not fair. Like, life is not fair, but seeing those kids have to undergo that and experience that is tough. So
It's rough.
for
Yeah.
you to like come up with this to be able to give back is going to be really nice. And I love to get involved as well too, because I
Yeah.
don't, although I don't, I want to get out of nursing, I still want to use my nursing skill set
Of
elsewhere.
course.
Yeah, because I mean, I've been doing it for 20 plus years. It's like riding a bike. I haven't put in an IV for a while, but it's like riding a bike. I can easily do it if I just do one or two. I'm like back at it again. So
It's right here. It's always the AC.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was probably in a year or two we can make this happen.
yeah.
And all right, moving on. Speaking of that touching moment, can you please tell us a story that touched your heart while running this digital business?
Um, it wouldn't. So it's not a story within this community. It's a story within what I've experienced as an oncology clinical trials nurse.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
and
Okay.
so I've I dealt with, I was doing mostly primarily gynecology clinical trial studies and gastrointestinal, and so with especially gynecology,
Mm-hmm.
the prognosis is not very good with a lot of like ovarian cancers, cervical cancers, endometrial. And so I remember this one lady, she was young, she's my age, and she was diagnosed with cervical cancer. So she was diagnosed like a couple years ago, and then it came back. It became metastatic, and so she had to undergo other treatment. And she was a young girl, and um, just having conversations with her and her husband, like trying to find a window. Like, we started on a new clinical trial treatment, and it shrunk the tumor a bit because it was in her hip area, that
Mm-hmm.
was causing a lot of pain. And so it was, it shrunk a bit, and then it kept things stable. And there was that window. She was sitting there. She's like, they were thinking about going to Mexico because she's doing really good. Her blood work looks good. She feels better. Her pain's better. And then she was looking at me and she's like, Paula, what do I do? And I was like, I can't remember. I honestly can't remember her name, but I was like, you know what? Let's say it's Susie. Susie, I think this is the right time. Like, we can get travel insurance. If something comes, like if something happens, it's a quick flight back from Mexico to Canada. And I think like, this is the right time. And I told the doctor, I'm like, she's looking well. Like, I think this is the window of opportunity. And so she went down with her husband and had
Mm.
such a great time. And when she came back and told the story, she's like, thank you so much for being supportive and like, you know, saying yes to doing it. Like, it was probably the only trip that they were able to do, because she got diagnosed just before, right after they got married. And so it was just, they didn't really get to have a honeymoon or anything because she was getting treatments all the time. So that's only, so this is just one of the stories, but this is what it reminded me, the fact that time is so limited,
Time
with,
is
yeah.
precious. Oh my
And
gosh.
so with this business, knowing that it can create more time freedom or live that freedom lifestyle, is what pushes me, to keep doing this business. Even though there's always going to be ups and downs with this business, because it's not always going to be like up, up, up. It's going to be up and down, up and down. But when it's those down moments, I had to remind myself of those stories, that these are people that are, who barely have time to enjoy life because they have their time clock is stopping. Or and so that was one story. Another story, another quick story, was I had another couple, got diagnosed. She was, in her 60s when she got diagnosed ovarian cancer, but they retired in their 40s, her and her husband, and
Wow.
traveled
40s.
everywhere. Yeah, they traveled everywhere, and they're telling me the stories. They're like, Paulo, if you can retire early from nursing, do it, because they're like, we couldn't imagine if we didn't retire at 40, work till we're 60, and then she got diagnosed with ovarian cancer. We wouldn't have enjoyed those 20 years. And they're like, do it.
Crazy.
So those are things that really touched my heart. And I'm very, I actually got a tattoo of an angel on my
Mm-hmm.
chest as a reminder that I know a lot of my patients, because I look when a patient goes on my clinical trial, like any of my clinical trial studies I'm looking after, I treat them so well. Like because I'm the number one contact person if there's any issues that happens. I coordinate everything from their care, like the tests and everything. And so I give them top-notch care. And so they are, for me, I feel so grateful to have touched their lives, even if it's a small percent of being in part of their lives. But I remind myself of those experiences that keeps me
Yeah.
going in this business. So yeah, I know there's other successes within our community, but like, our community people are making like 20, 30, 50, 100K a month and stuff. So those are things that I eventually want to get there, and I know I will.
Mm.
But it's just the time factor of these conversations I've had with people who've had cancer. And so that's what pushes me to keep doing this business. Well, one of the reasons that pushes me to keep doing this business.
Whew, that's heavy.
Yeah, oh God, there's
Well,
more. Oh God, you know,
well,
there's,
I know. Yeah, these are the type of questions in my show.
yeah,
So let me tell you my own take on this question. It's like when I went to the Philippines at one time when I used to do in flights with the airlines.
yeah,
So I went there by myself. I went to Manila, and then I went with my cousin just roaming around Manila and all that. I went and ended up I ended up in the mall. I forgot which mall, but my cousin, I couldn't find my cousin. Then I'm just walking around, walking around. I went to the back of the mall by the trash can. I saw an older, probably she's about 80 years old, digging through trash. And then it reminded me of my grandma. Now I'm getting emotional.
yeah,
It's like it's so hard. Why us? Why does society let that happen?
yeah,
Why can't we provide a better healthcare, a better things that they do not have to, experience that?
yeah.
So I approached this lady, and then I gave her water and a little bit of food,
Hmm.
and then she held my hand, and then she said, "I do not know who you are, but as I want to say thank you." That
Hmm.
I walked away. I was just bawling.
Yeah,
So those are the kind of stuff that's very important to me
yeah,
in our business. We all know, monetary gain, monetary things, accomplishment.
yeah,
Every some of the newer business partners of ours, they always say, "Oh, I don't have anything. I haven't proven anything." Blah blah blah. Slow down and think about what you're saying. It's not all about the money. It's all
yeah,
about touching people. We are a people business. If you touch someone's soul one day, that's a big accomplishment,
yeah,
and money can't buy that,
yeah.
right? Whew, I got emotional there.
Yeah.
So,
No, yeah, those moments, like, it's always etched in your memory, no matter what. And
mm,
it's good that you can still remind yourself of those stories to stay
mm,
humble with, regardless of how much money you make in this business. Because initially when I started, I was like, yeah, it's the money, but now it's more the mission of helping people
yeah,
get out of the rut that they're in.
but
So
in the beginning, I didn't understand that. It's
yeah,
like, yeah, sure, sure, sure. But as the years gone by, like, okay, I get it.
yeah,
I get it. I totally understood what's the mission about, especially when I went to the convention in Las Vegas. That's the very first time I met our founder,
yeah,
our brand founder, and then I met our community founders.
yeah,
And then I met them again in Calgary. That was, oh man, in Japan. See you in Japan. All right. Just winding down. I'm sorry, Coach. I am keeping you more than enough. Looking back at your journey, can you please tell us the biggest achievement you've accomplished so far?
Um, so I think the biggest achievement I've accomplished so far is the personal growth of being able
Yes.
to feel comfortable being an entrepreneur and a business person and not worrying about putting my business out there because I was always afraid of what people are going to
What
think.
people
And
will say. Yeah.
so I think that was one of my biggest accomplished so far. And now I don't care anymore. I post things. Not be, besides my business page, I post stuff on my personal page. I'm like, I don't care if people get annoyed with me, unfollow me. And I've actually took that seminar with Grant Cardone with the
Oh
10x thing,
yes.
the
Yes.
3 day weekend thing, and working closely with Georgia, she follows him as well, and she's like, just 10x everything. So like everything I post, I just keep posting, 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 and like I don't care anymore. And with those posts, it's like I get free leads that are interested, or people who are looking to do this business and
Yep.
stuff. So yeah,
I do go lives like 2 or 3 times a day.
yeah, yeah,
So,
and
like what you said, there are free leads.
yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay. Finally, any message or advice you want to give those who keeps going back and forth about starting their own online business?
Yeah, I would say start now. Don't wait. Because the longer you wait, a month will go by, 3 months will go by, 6 months, 8 months, a year, and you're like, you're going to still be in the same rut. You're going to still be
Mm,
living paycheck to paycheck. You're going to be seeing the cost of living continue to rise. You're going to not change your situation. And so start now. People will say, I don't have the time, or I don't have the funds, or I don't have this and this. You know what? If you don't have the time, make the time. You can rearrange your schedule. People are like, well, I have kids, I've got this other commitments. Use a calendar on your phone. I use my calendar all the time on my phone. Cut out Netflix, cut out gaming, cut out scrolling through social media, because social
exactly.
media, I remember doing it and I was like, oh my God, how did 45 minutes an hour pass scrolling through stuff?
Oh
So
gosh, I used to do that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and don't stop watching movies. Like, don't watch Netflix TV series because 45 minutes turns out to an hour or 2 hours because it just keeps playing, and you could have used that time productively to put back into your business, start the business. And then
Yeah.
finance wise, if people say they don't have the money to do it, look, honestly, be honest with yourself and budget and look at what you're spending your money on. Because if you're buying expensive things, if you're eating out, if you're buying alcohol, if you're smoking, all that stuff,
Cut it off.
reduce it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because a lot of times, like, there's people I've approached, like friends, and like, oh, I don't have the money, and I'm like, I just saw you post stuff that you had a nice dinner out, or
Yeah.
you're like, you're drinking, you're
Or
drinking.
a brand new purse.
Yeah, like, those are things that you want to do, is just change your priorities. And I can honestly say, like, even if you can't start now, just start saving up, get another job. There's people who, when I do coaching calls and they're not ready to jump in financially, I said, are there other things that can you sell things, can you get another part-time job to help you, come up with a startup income to do the business. And I have people come back a year later, 2 years later, and they start the business because our system is tried and tested, everyone. It's been around for 7 years.
Hmm.
All the kinks have pretty much been ironed out.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
so that's why, as a community, we're growing globally. And people always say, like, well, it's probably saturated. I'm like, there's billions of people in the world. How is it saturated? Come on, like, use their common knowledge of like that. So
Well, the common things. Oh, we're this, we're that, and we are not. We are a legit registered company,
yeah,
and we pay our taxes, folks.
yeah, we get a
So,
tax at the end of the year. And so yeah, so my message is, don't wait, follow your intuition. If
mhm,
your gut is telling you to look into this, but honestly, still do your due diligence. Coming from an oncology clinical trials nurse that consents patients uh, to clinical trial studies, I'm sitting there with them for an hour, 2 hours, going through information. Do your due diligence, ask questions. If you ask a question and people can't answer you, or that the person can't do a phone call or video or text
mhm,
you, if they have no social media platform that you can follow and see who they are, then definitely red flags. But if you are following somebody, you're seeing their posting every day, you're seeing their videos, you're developing that trust, reach out to them and ask your questions, because we can answer those questions, but we always tell people watch that informational webinar first,
Exactly.
because it will break down the business model and the system in our program. And then from there, you can formulate your questions, because I always get questions from people. They're like, oh, I've done this. I've seen this. A friend told me about this. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but watch the information webinar, because other questions will formulate from that, because what we're doing in the online space is way different than a lot of these other online businesses. And so that's why I said, do your due diligence, ask the questions, and just follow your gut.
Yep. All right, Coach. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know we went over our time, and
That's
I
okay.
appreciate you. I appreciate you, and check on my one of my bucket list.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad I got on here. So thanks,
Oh
John.
gosh, so nice, so nice. Yeah, maybe I can reach out to you a year or two from now and see if we can collaborate with
Yeah,
all the
definitely.
people that can help out. All right,
Yeah.
guys, thank you for tuning in to Global Talk with Jonathan and Coach Juan Paulo. And once again, for those of you who are going to watch the replay, please comment down below and see where you're coming from, so we know where our reach are going tonight. And that's it. Thanks, Coach, once again, and please check out our pages. If you have any questions, just message us directly on this feed or on this post. All right, guys. Good night. Good morning. Wherever you, Coach. Good morning. All right, guys. Signing off.
Okay. Bye, everyone.